Coming up on today's show, Bleacher Report reveals their biggest weakness for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll tell you what that is, react to it and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, folks, all month long, throughout the month of August, we are in a sub-battle with our fellow AFC North rivals, and you can see Ravens rundown already with 5 new subs. Browns report with 4. Steelers talk leading the way with 15. And the Bengals breakdown with 6. For daily Baltimore Ravens news and rumors, we're going to have some watch parties coming up, including here in just a few days for the first preseason game. We will be all over it here on the channel. If you are a real member of the Ravens flock, you got to subscribe to the rundown. YouTube.com/RavensTV to subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. Thanks for joining us here on the program today. Tyler Jones here with you as we are talking about what Bleacher Report had to say about the Baltimore Ravens' biggest weakness heading into 2024. This Ravens team has gone through a lot of changes this offseason with 20-plus free agents, not a ton of cap space to spend. So how does the roster stack up entering this year? What could they potentially improve on? Let's dive in. Here's what the Bleacher Report NFL scouting department had to say about the Ravens' biggest weakness. For one, the Ravens lost 3 starters on the offensive line. Kevin Zeitler, John Simpson, and Morgan Moses weren't Pro Bowl talents, but that's a lot of continuity to lose up front. They also lost a lot of their coaching staff on defense, with Mike McDonald, Anthony Weaver, and Denard Wilson all being hired by other teams. So here is what Bleacher Report ranked 1 through 4 as the biggest weaknesses for the Baltimore Ravens. They include the edge rusher spot, wide receiver, interior offensive lineman, and the right tackle position. Now we will bring in a guy that you'll be seeing a lot going forward here on the channel. It is my good friend Joey Peterson, who's been with us here at Chat Sports for the last several weeks now, and he's going to be doing more stuff here on Ravens Rundown going forward. Joey, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Bleacher Report with their 4 weaknesses here for the Baltimore Ravens?
I think that they got the 4 positions right, or 4 parts of the football field right. I don't know if they got them in the right order. We'll talk about that a little bit more coming up, but I do think those are all 4 things that the Ravens need to be, I don't know, kind of maybe in the market for as the season's coming up, preseason's rolling around. And I think a lot of those they can kind of fix before the season starts.
Yeah, when you look at the Ravens situation here, they don't have a ton in cap space, but you still have some contracts to potentially work out of some extension candidates, which could free up some more money. And when you look at trades that are out there, some free agents, there's still room for improvement and opportunities for this team to get better.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I disagree with this list is edge rusher at first.
Yeah.
Obviously, you lost Jadeveon Clowney, a 9.5 sack guy last year. But if you take away 10 sacks from this team's 60-team sack last year, they're still sitting at 6 in the NFL, right? And so, obviously, it's not going to be as strong as it was last year, but to say it's the biggest weakness, I think is wrong.
Yeah, and you're going to have other guys step up, like Odafe Oweh, that's going to be asked to do more. And the track record for the Baltimore Ravens when it comes to that position over the years has been that it's been plug-and-play guys, that their defensive staff has done a really good job of putting guys in position to succeed, and we've seen it with older, cheap veterans. You mentioned Clowney. We saw it with Justin Houston in the past. Kyle Van Noy is back, so I'm not as concerned about that as maybe Bleacher Report is. What do you guys think is the Ravens' biggest weakness entering 2024? I'll tell you what I believe it is. Joey's going to chime in here in just a moment as well, but we want to hear from you guys first. Way in the comment section, let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for last-minute tickets. The best seats and the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. Here's how it works. You choose the event you want to go to. They have the prices listed. And then from there, you choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, and you're checking out within just a matter of moments on Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. You can go to Baltimore Orioles games, maybe Ravens preseason games, all sorts of different options to choose from. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. All right, Joey, let's take a look at our list now of what we believe is actually the biggest issues concerning the Baltimore Ravens in 2024. And our list includes, number 1, the interior offensive line, number 2, wide receiver, number 3, edge rusher, and number 4, right tackle. And when I look at these, I see interior offensive line doesn't really have a perfect solution right now. Wide receiver, you have guys that could potentially step up into that role with Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Tez Walker, but still remains to be seen. The edge rusher position, we mentioned earlier, I think they have some guys they can plug and play. And right tackle, Roger Rosengard, I think is going to be really good, but he's still a rookie. It's going to take time.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to look at all of these. I think what scares me the most, and honestly, I think 1 and 2 are very close here. I think when you're a title contender and you have as much question marks in that wide receiver 2 or 3 spot as the Ravens do, I think that scares me, right? You want guys like Lamar Jackson to have as many weapons on the outside as you can. Obviously, adding Derrick Henry to that backfield is going to help a lot, but you know, who's going to get the ball other than Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews? And so I think that's going to be something really big to look at. And when you lose guys like Simpson and Zeitler on that interior offensive line, like Bleacher Report said, not Pro Bowl guys, but man, were they solid interior offensive linemen.
Yeah, they got the job done, and it's not going to be easy to replace. Luckily for the interior, you still have Tyler Linderbaum, one of the best centers in football, holding things down at that spot. One guy that the Ravens missed out on that, Joey, you were really wanting was Greg Van Roten, who ultimately went elsewhere. This was a guy that they could have had for a pretty reasonable cost.
Yeah, I thought this was a big miss in this free agency. I mean, he is one of those guys, he's played a lot of ball, right? He's 34 years old, but man, is he solid. If you look at his passing grades from last year, pass protection grades, PFF grades, man, 75.3 overall. His pass block was a 77.4, only let up 5 sacks on the season. And again, they got him for a pretty reasonable price. He signed a 1-year contract, $3 million. If he plays over 50% of the snaps with the Giants, he'll get all of that money. And I think that is so worth it to have a guy like that, to protect a guy like we do. We've got a lot of contracts coming up, and our championship window, it's still here as long as we've got 8 in the backfield, but man, it's closing every single year.
Yeah, it is. And you take a look at the available free agents that the Ravens still could potentially sign. We begin with Connor Williams. He's available. He's played center and guard. And according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, he's looking to play center, not play guard, which would not necessarily work for the Ravens with having Tyler Linderbaum. But if Connor Williams doesn't have a ton of options, maybe he would be willing to potentially change his mind and play guard, especially on a championship caliber team like the Ravens have in that sense. You got Michael Thomas also available as well in free agency at this point. He's still trying to find a home. And when I look at Michael Thomas, you know, we think about him potentially filling that OBJ role of that veteran presence, if you will, in that receiving core. He's not the same player that he was. You're not going to get the Offensive Player of the Year version of Michael Thomas that we saw a couple years, Joey. But if he can stay healthy, he can still be an impact wide receiver.
Yeah, and I don't think you need that Offensive Player of the Year guy, right? You've got a guy like Mark Andrews. You've got a guy like Zay Flowers, who I fully expect to have an over 1,000-yard receiving season. You just need a consistent guy to go to, right? OBJ last year, 35 receptions, 565 yards, 16.1 yards per catch. A lot of people thought OBJ was washed, right? A lot of people probably didn't expect OBJ to have the season that he did, but he did have that season. When you look at this wide receiver room, Tyler, what are the biggest question marks to you?
Well, I wonder what version of Rashad Bateman we're going to get. We've seen him play really well. We've seen him play really poor. We've seen him be banged up. They're putting a lot of hope, a lot of stock, if you will, into Rashad Bateman. We'll see when push comes to shove. Nelson Aguilar, I think, solid. But then who's going to be the other guys from there? Is Tez Walker, as a fourth-round rookie, ready to go and take on a significant role? Is Tylan Wallace finally going to be that guy? Is Deontay Hardy a receiver or more of a special teams guy? There's a ton of questions that need answers when it comes to this receiving room. Another potential solution, if you will, Yannick Ngakoue. And we've talked a decent amount on this channel over the last couple months about Yannick Ngakoue, still available in free agency, a former Baltimore Raven that's had a good career as a journeyman, if you will, most recently with the Chicago Bears. And if you're looking for a cheap veteran pass rusher, he's looking for kind of a prove-it contract, if you will, about $4 million, which the Ravens can certainly afford right now. This might be a good fit for what the Ravens are potentially looking for. Bleacher Report said the following about Yannick Ngakoue in Baltimore. Yannick Ngakoue could have a similar impact as a late signing this year. The 29-year-old doesn't offer much help against the run, but he can still be an effective pass rush specialist. Bringing him in would alleviate the pressure on David Ojabo and Odafe Oweh to have breakout seasons. And with Yannick, I know he's not great against the run, Joey, but if he can be the 8, 9, 10 sack guy that he was even just a few years ago, then if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you would gladly take that.
Yeah, I think you would take that, no question, right? You just need a guy that's going to be in there, that's going to give you quality minutes every single game, right? You're going to need a guy who's going to make a couple plays every single game. Can you get to the quarterback? Can you pressure the quarterback? That's so much of what this game is. And I think that Jadeveon Clowney, him leaving is going to leave a little bit of a hole on this defensive line, but I honestly think they can fill it pretty easily with signing a guy like Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, I think so too. To me, this is of the possible free agents, kind of seems the most realistic option for the Baltimore Ravens at this point. Would you sign Yannick Ngakoue? Would you bring him back to Baltimore if you were Eric DeCosta? Let us know what you think. Type S for sign, P for pass. Weigh in the comments section and let us know. Last on our solutions list, Roger Rosengard, who is expected to be the Ravens' starting right tackle. And the plan in place for him, Joey, is that they want him to be the starting right tackle right now, and then to eventually be the long-term replacement for Ronnie Stanley at the left tackle position. And you look at Roger Rosengard, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about what he could potentially bring to this Baltimore Ravens team.
I think so too. He's coming from a system at Washington. Man, they slowed the pill. They threw the ball a lot. And I think it's a great plan, a great idea to kind of ease him into the NFL. Now, if he's starting week 1, how much of easing into the NFL is that? But, man, right tackle is a lot different than left tackle. And so if he could get a year or 2 under his belt there and then transition to that left tackle spot, man, I'd really love that for him. We know he looks great in purple. Ronnie Stanley already is a really big fan of Roger Rosengard and saying this the other day after training camp. All in all, Roger's a pro. The notable veteran continued. He's a pro football player, and he's definitely belongs in the NFL. I see it in the way he prepares, thinks about the games, his IQ, just his tenacity and the way that he's not scared to go after blocks and does it in a controlled way.
Yeah, very good point there. Ronnie Stanley singing the praises of Roger Rosengard. Now let's take a look at the Ravens' offensive line depth chart heading into 2024. And you can see Stanley, Voorhees, Linderbaum, Cleveland, and Rosengard would be your projected starting 5 there on the offensive line right now. One thing, too, Ben Cleveland, when he has played, he's been very solid, but it's been a very limited, small sample size. And Andrew Voorhees, I know that he was a day 3 selection by Baltimore, but that was due to injury. Prior to that, he was given a round 1 or 2 grade. So if he is fully healthy, then there could be significant value in Andrew Voorhees as well. So I think this offensive line is going to be a bit better than what most people think, a little bit better than advertised. You know, when I look at the moves that the Ravens are looking at that's being talked about, I don't think it's incredibly likely that they make a ton of moves at this point in time. But if they did, if they could find a way to just get another piece or two to take that next step to make themselves even just a little bit better, I think that would certainly go a long way as far as that goes. Joey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think at this point, you're a championship contender,
yeah.
right? We need to make up that gap with the other teams in the AFC, right? And I think this is the point. You got to just go out there, balls to the wall, do all that you can to make this team better because, like I said earlier, the window's not getting any bigger in these next couple of years.
Absolutely. Let's ask you to pick one. If you could sign Connor Williams, Michael Thomas, or Yanak Ngakoue, who would you go with? Type CW for Connor Williams, MT for Michael Thomas, YN for Yanak Ngakoue. Let us know in the comments section below. Joey, which one you picking between those three if you could only take one?
I'm probably picking – I think I'm picking Michael Thomas. I would pick Connor Williams if he'd be available week 1 for sure.
And if he's willing to play guard, yeah.
Yes, 100%. There's a lot of things, too many things that need to go perfect with Connor Williams. I think Michael Thomas can come in here, be a 500-yard guy, and be exactly what this team needs to be. Just another weapon.
I would take all three, but I think Michael Thomas would be the guy I would like to have the most between those three options there. We'll continue to cover your Baltimore Ravens each and every day on the channel. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/RavensTV. He's Joey Peterson. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.